Welcome to Delightfully Dysfunctional, a podcast about navigating the emotions of the human condition and the challenges that come with it. I'm Kaylani Persian Mason, a psychotherapist and life coach with James Timmons, an ever-curious human. This is not a replacement for mental health therapy. Please seek out mental health care if that's what you're needing. This is an opportunity for self-healers to dive deep and understand more about themselves. Welcome back to Delightfully Dysfunctional. I'm Kaylani, and I'm here with James.
Hi, y'all.
Hola. And today, I'm just excited to be with all of you delightful humans. I want to first just share my gratitude because I've gotten to have some discovery calls with some of you. I've had more time to interact in the comments with some of you, and I just feel really appreciative to the people who join us here and who, have let us be our authentic selves and have these conversations.
Sorry.
As you fumble. Did you catch all that? I was being so sincere, James. Where were you?
I was listening. Sorry, my back is sweaty, so my in-ear monitors, I had it through my shirt, and it was bothering my skin. Anyway, okay. I had to fix that.
Now your mic is falling. You're a mess. You're a mess,
yeah,
man.
That's okay. I've been a mess. That's no surprise to anyone.
Take that one. Tighten that joint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, that is really great because you've gotten to experience some authenticity with some of our subscribers.
Yeah, our delightful humans.
Yeah.
And I'm just feeling so grateful. And I mean, another piece too, we're going to dive into this a little bit more when we start doing reactions today, but I've gotten to learn a lot more about Ren. He's one of the main artists that we react to a lot, and some of the copyright stuff going on. And it's kind of a wild story. I feel I don't know if you've listened to it.
No.
Okay. He posted an explanation of what's going on right now because the song Sick Boy got removed, and he thought he bought a beat. Like it said, he purchased it online, and it said, I'm purchasing the full copyright and licensure of this beat, only to find out later that there was a part of it that person didn't fully own.
Oh.
So anyways, there's this whole debacle. There's a lot of shady conversations from this other person, Kojo, and it's turned into quite a heated thing. And so Ren's really seeking the support of the reaction community and of people to hear his side of the story, and really he has just interacted with them with a lot of high integrity. But there's going to be a lot more Ren coming down the chain. So if you have been listening to the podcast, I just share that to join us over on YouTube, where I'm reacting to different music videos and really just breaking down and sharing more of that emotional landscape. And I don't know, there's just some really, really impressive and talented artists, and it's just so fun to dive into their world. So I'm just putting the bug in everyone's ear. Check it out. It's fun. It's cool over there.
Ren gets a lot of we get a lot of traction when we react to Ren.
So today I want us to talk about the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn responses.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've experienced that a lot.
Yeah, so you can pipe in.
Yeah.
Great. Oh, that's not great though, actually. So you find your body going into that panic response.
Right.
Yeah. And I think part of, we've done several episodes on just kind of the current climate in society, and I feel like we're at a pace that actually is not what a normal human tends to thrive in.
Yeah.
And we're lacking community. And so in my more integrative research into our body and our brain and how we're interconnected. We are one organism. It's not separate. That's what I'm learning. And when you look at the top diseases, they're all stress related, and it's all about that stress response of rapid heart rate or stomach issues and cortisol being dumped into your gut. So this is where that happens when we fall into these very automatic nervous system responses that cause our body to get into this very panicky state.
Yeah.
And I want us to talk through them. Yeah, because some of these freezing and fawning, there's some people who aren't as familiar.
Yeah.
So the fight response, I mean, that one can be pretty straightforward, but with all of these, we can have examples in the animal kingdom as well. So obviously, like two aggressive dogs going down the street, that's like an easy one for us to all understand. And it's this heat between them and a heart rate increase. There's tension. And so in humans, you'll see like raised voices often. They're being more confrontational, possibly physically aggressive. And these situations can come up as a sense of a perceived threat or a feeling. Sometimes there is a true threat in front of us, but our body just prepares for attack and to defend itself. And so it can create a lot of aggression and anger in someone. So there might be people in your life where you've seen them feel really stressed out and they might have a shorter fuse then.
Yeah.
Even like just being more irritable or consistently more irritable is somewhat going into this. It's not quite like you're in a fight, flight, freeze, but it definitely can give you an indication maybe of where you might lean. And yeah, like I mentioned, in that animal kingdom, like a dog who's feeling threatened, they might like be growling or lunge, be a little bit like, I want to try and scare off the danger.
Yeah.
So instead of where, you know, many years ago, we would have seen danger as we're being chased by some animal, and we panic, and like that makes sense for our body to go into fight mode.
Yeah.
Now when we're stressed about bills or we're stressed about just kind of the day in, day out, it doesn't make as much sense for our whole body and system to fall into these high stress zones.
Right. Yeah. I hate that okay. I can count on one hand. No. I've never been chased by an animal in my life. I've never. I've maybe counted on one hand that how many times like
I've been chased by bison. I've been chased by horses.
Okay, well, I mean, I've been chased by dogs and stuff, but very, very, very rarely in my life.
It's a low risk for most humans.
But that feeling of fight, that adrenaline and cortisol dump happens every single day. But but it's usually because I have created some traumatic event in my brain, and then my body's responding to it. But it's like, I wish that there's probably a pill that you can take to where you don't experience the fight or the adrenaline and cortisol, right? It's called antidepressants.
Well, I mean, those are SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and there are some that aren't like related to serotonin but work with other neurotransmitters. But I'd say the feeling of it for many people is kind of, if this is the full spread of emotion that you have, and I'm kind of like opening my stance and my arms, and if you have this full spectrum of emotion, an SSRI will often kind of cap the ends for people. So it puts you in a functional space if you're really, really struggling, where at least you're not having low lows. But for many people, especially with long-term use, they might also not feel as many high highs. And that, for some people, is really okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I've experienced some low lows recently, but that it's such a, I feel like it's such a defect in our bodies, you know?
Is it a defect in our bodies, or is it a defect in society?
It might be.
Some of the things that we view as normal are just things that have been put in place by someone who it was advantageous to them and power to set like a 40-hour work week or things like that. That's
true.
So,
actually, I'm going to take responsibility. It's a defect in my like rationalizing and like my ability to process my emotions. So,
well, there's more being asked of us than ever before as humans to make sense of, and especially with like phones and technology and the current news cycle. Even all of that is giving us so much information on top of the in and out of just daily life. Yeah. So, I think from if we're just looking at what we have available to us, unfortunately, most of us have to work full-time jobs and still keep up with everything else. Then learning how to manage your emotions, understanding your trauma, healing through it is going to be the best bet, and taking whatever medications or routes feel right to you. I try to look into holistic methods as much as possible, because I think that they provide the most long-lasting opportunity to heal. But at the end of the day, it is on us. If we zoom out, though, I think we should also advocate for better systems and understand what it is that humans really need to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, sorry, there's my long rant. But if we go into the flight response, that just means to flee, to escape. There's to avoid a perceived threat, to outrun them, and prioritizing getting away over fighting. So if a human walking on a trail encounters a snake, they're going to probably like back up and go the other direction. That actually just happened recently with my friend Alyssa, and it was like a little gardener snake, and we were like, if you're watching Nat Geo, a gazelle, they're going to run from the predator, from a lion. They're going to flee. So there's all of these examples, once again, in nature that we can think about, and we understand exactly what's going on. And the other aspect of what's happening in your body, too, is that your brainstem, blood flow kind of flows to that part of your brain. And so that's the part that is operating your heart, your digestion, all these automatic things. It starts making your heart beat faster. The blood is trying to pool to the internal organs and protect them from danger. So people will feel tingling in their hands and their feet often, or cold, or temperature changes in their hands and extremities. And you might have some people experience like a stomach ache, and that's cortisol being dumped into your gut, which is where
vagus nerve.
Yeah, where there's more actually happening in our gut. It's really discussed as being the second brain, because it's not just up here that we have neurotransmitters, or that these stress hormones are produced. So we can tie those into common symptoms that that people have.
Priya.
That Priya has. That's hilarious. My toddler, that she does. Oh man, she's napping right now, and she needed it. She had a tantrum because Daddy didn't play hide and seek with her when she wanted him to, and I'm like,
I mean, that's not unreasonable.
I'm like, let's evaluate. It's okay. So anyways, those are the most common ones, but let's get into freeze and fawn, because I think that those are really interesting. And for people, many people have experienced those and not really understood, or may have even shamed themselves in certain panicky situations, that why didn't I do enough? Why did I freeze? Why did I behave that way? And it is still a part of an automatic way our body kicks in to try and keep us safe.
Yeah.
So when someone is in freeze response, it really makes me think of when I would drive down country roads growing up in northern Minnesota and see a deer, because the deer just freezes right in the middle of the road and will stare at you for a second.
So do old people when they get into a roundabout, Anyway,
that can, I suppose, that happens too.
I've seen people freeze up when they on a train track or something when a train's coming, because they just their whole brain just shuts down.
Whose car is on a train track when the train is coming? How many people have you seen in this scenario?
I follow this page that it's all these cars getting hit by trains.
That's terrible.
I know, but I can't. The term it's like a train wreck and you can't look away. Oh, there's a page of train wrecks.
I don't think this is good for your psyche.
I haven't watched it for a while, but
I'm prescribing you with 1 hour of puppies and kitties.
Well, I used to watch it all the time in the middle of the night, and it's so entertaining. But what you would notice is people would pull up, and then they'd see the gates come down, and then they'd be like, "Oh shit, what do I do?" And then they would just freeze, and they would sit there, and the train, and then you as a viewer are like, move, just break through the gates, or back up, get out of the car, do something. And they just sit there and they do nothing, and the train just boom destroys them, and they probably die. But that's a perfect example, of the freeze response.
Yeah, that's traumatic. I'm in the freeze response right now. I'm like, what? WTF?
Yeah, well, I mean, you see that in traffic too. Somebody is pulls out, in an intersection at a yellow light, and it turns red, and they're just they stop in the intersection. What do I do? And you're like, you just get out of the intersection.
Yeah, I just go. So I don't know about these people. I don't know these people.
Well, those are examples off the top of my head that I can think of.
Well, anyways, I feel like I'm just going to dive right back in. I've been in a car accident, and afterwards, that's certainly how I felt. I remember just being frozen right there, because you're just assessing also, am I bleeding? Am I okay? What just happened? Like, things can happen so quickly. And so I hope, God, I don't know. I'm trying to like move on from this horrific like scene you put in mind of people get hit by trains. What's funny is we've been watching a lot of train videos because Priya's been asking for them, but of like scenic train rides in beautiful areas.
Yeah, well, those trains hit people that are in the freeze response.
Oh my God.
Just imagine the beautiful scenery and then boom. Sorry.
Jesus.
I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Terrible. If you're driving right now, please be safe. Don't do this.
Yeah.
Many people too who fall into the freeze response, I'd say, like, I think about, like, I'm taking us deep down into the depths of things, but sadly, like, people who've been sexually assaulted in some way or even domestic violence situations can fall into that freeze response because it also can feel like if I don't fight back, they might not hurt me as badly.
Oh, yeah.
And the fawn response can kind of go hand in hand sometimes in those situations, which is lesser known. It's where the person tries to placate or appease the threat to avoid there being any harm, to avoid there being any huge upset from that person.
Yeah.
And it might even be in a lot of like people pleasing or submissive behaviors. So again, like if someone is confronting a verbally aggressive partner, they may respond with being overly apologetic or overly accommodating to prevent the situation from escalating. And there's definitely been people like that I've seen the scenario play out. And it's really unfortunate because they might not know or understand how to get out and maybe not have community to get out.
Yeah. No, I've actually learned a little bit about the fawn response. I had a friend who, she recognized in herself that she did that in her marriage. And, and it's super interesting. Yeah. Because you realize like, just how much that control that person had over you, where you were like basically giving your body just to, please them, just to avoid conflict. Cause it's like, well, if I can just like get this over with, then, it'll just be a short little thing. And
yeah, it's really unfortunate. I think this is where you'd see that response a lot in codependent relationships too. Where there is some kind of a trauma happening. So it's something to pay attention to. And even if someone is in a healthy relationship, that isn't just where the fawn response exists. But if you are in a healthy relationship but have had a history of feeling unsafe in relationships or from your family of origin, it's still that people-pleasing behavior might still be kind of ingrained. That's how trauma works. And we have to work on peeling back. What is it that I really do want?
Yeah.
How do I advocate for myself? Reminding yourself that you're safe in a situation when truly you are safe, so that you're not kind of falling back into those patterns. So first, it's to just be aware and pay attention to how is my automatic nervous system kicking in when I feel a threat. And for a lot of people, I think with the freeze and fawn response, they might feel a lot of shame or feel like I let that happen. I didn't fight back. And I just so badly want to say, oh man, your body and your brain automatically have ways that they're trying to protect you given what they know. And we don't know everything.
Yeah.
So I also say, in hindsight, we see a lot more clarity. And part of healing through whatever it is you've been through is giving yourself some grace and trying to take that insight into the future, into your healing. How can you weave that into what you know now? Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for you. So all four of those, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, any one of them that's not a good response to like a stressful situation, right? But what do you find yourself being like your default response? And then also, what do you think is the correct response? Like, let's say, you and Zach are fighting about something. Like, do you typically, what's your response?
I'm trying to think a little bit.
Okay.
I'd say, like, if I'm getting stressed, I will probably be the one to, I don't know, like mention things more, mention that, like, this is something we need to be working on or talking on, or like, like picking up on the thing. So it's not that I'm in fight mode, but I might be slightly more critical when I'm stressed. And I think that that's kind of, if there's a scale of when it comes to of these different responses, fight being the one in particular. And I don't know, it's interesting because I'm never really fully in any of these states in any scenario at the moment. So it's really a manageable place. I think when it comes to flight, for a lot of people, that looks like withdrawing from the relationship, from the conversation. And I see that very commonly with people. And really how you get out of it, it's not just knowing, oh, I have to take deep breaths. It's kind of creating a lifestyle that allows you to practice how to regulate your nervous system. Yeah. It means trying to have better sleep hygiene. I've been actually meditating a lot more, and that's been great. Being in like working out, getting physical activity, deep breathing. That's an important one that a lot of people aren't doing. Grounding techniques. There's journaling. I love journaling. That's a big one for me in processing things. So it's how do I create a life that allows me to practice those qualities, those techniques, so that I can know how to come back to center. For sure. And I find that if people are not doing any of those things, they're going to struggle in one way or another, or not know how to take care of themselves very well. They might then numb through food or through some other kind of addictive behavior, but it's not a good way to take care of yourself, advocate for yourself. So it's really paying attention to what are the tools that I'm using in my everyday life. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think your answer was basically like just to be more secure, or you are a pretty secure person. I mean, because you know all the stuff. Like for me, I've noticed that my response, I think I want to say, is flight, because I mean, I know in my past relationships, like way long ago, I would be the fighter. I would like get triggered and then stay in that triggered state and like argue and punch a wall or something. But then, as I grew up, I realized that, I understood what a trigger was. So then, I like to calm down before I become completely irrational and, but then, I tend to like step away probably more than I should, because I think a partner, a woman would want me to like pursue her or something rather than constantly, I don't know, stepping away.
I don't know. It seems like you have some kind of specific scenario in your mind, so it's hard to peel back. Am I right?
Yeah, but we'll talk offline.
We'll have our therapy session later, James. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
The most common reaction from men tends to be to stonewall or withdraw in stressful situations and to not turn towards their partner. And the most common one for women is to become critical. Not necessarily aggressive, but to be more critical. Yeah. And really it's in an attempt to find closeness or common ground oftentimes, or it becomes more critical or more sharp if they don't feel a trust in their partner. Yeah. And then the male oftentimes then feels kind of attacked or confused and unsafe, and then will withdraw further. So this can be a really common dynamic within couples within their own responses that they have. And this is why it's really important to be aware, just to even think of how do I respond to situations? What are the things that come up? And like, since we brought up relationships, tying in some of like the Gottman stuff, so the things that he would say are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse in a relationship would be contempt, defensiveness, criticism, and stonewalling.
Yeah, I realized, as you said that, I realized that I stonewall. If I'm feeling like rejected or hurt, that is my default. And I've realized that I forgot that that's what it was called. But then now I'm like, man, I really regret all the times, that I've stonewalled. But like, I don't know, if someone like me who that is their default in an argument, like what would be your advice for the future relationships?
Yeah, I would say it's important to pay attention to your body first. And so I would talk to my clients through what do you notice in your body when you're feeling that way? Is there a heaviness? Does it feel...
I think it's like a guardedness.
A guardedness that you notice? Okay, yeah. And are there any actual like body sensations that tie in with it? Is there tightness in the chest or...
My vagus nerve,
Right, okay. So when you can identify... Oh, I'm watching for that feeling.
Yeah.
When I'm in that feeling, that means I need to be aware that there's a special sensitivity here.
Right. Yeah.
And then lean into actually communicating with your partner. And when you're feeling that, you can say, and again, if this is a healthy relationship, which hopefully it is, you can be able to say, hey, I really want to talk about this later, but right now I'm going to need some time to think about it. It doesn't mean I don't want to, but I'm going to need a little bit of time. And that's when you cool down in whatever way it is. And make sure that it's not just like, oftentimes it's in the middle of an argument that someone then is like too flooded and they just shut down and they like peace.
Yeah.
In those moments, it's really good to say, I'm going to calm down, I'll come back, or like I'm time out. Sometimes it's just a hand motion because you're too worried if you open your mouth, you might say some things you regret.
Right.
So it's getting better about noticing your own cues.
Totally. Yeah. And I think that the opposite action would be to offer like authenticity and like a vulnerability in those moments. Cause like I when I think back on all the times I stonewalled in relationships, I really wish that I had like, calmed myself down and then given like an act of love, like that authenticity and like just a reassurance. Because I think when I stonewall in relationships, it's a huge rejection to my partner because and then I'm probably unbearable to be around in those moments. So then it's like, I wish that I could in those moments stonewall, cool down, then go, you know what? I really I love you and I'm sorry for reacting that way, stuff like that. Yeah. But, so I think what I'll do in future relationships is every time I feel those sensations, I will commit, I'll remember, it'll be like an activation that I'll then like deliberately create a moment of authenticity. And then that will, instead of erode my relationships, it'll then like build up the relationships,
Yeah, when it comes to stonewalling, it's really about how do I turn towards my person?
Yeah.
How do I lean in? How do I lean in with curiosity? And first, I think finding the right way to identify and talk about how you feel is important.
Yeah.
Because without that, how do we communicate or explain it to someone else? So take a moment to just like commune with yourself. And that can feel really scary for people, to find the stillness, to pay attention to like what is really in here that I'm feeling and why, and where did that come from? And then having, I want to be able to talk about this with you.
Yeah.
I notice that this is something I do and I don't want to. How does that feel when that happens for you?
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't have to start in that place, but it's really nice to be able to find a partner where you can have conversations on that level. Certainly that isn't where a lot of the couples that I work with begin. This is something that you build towards. But in the beginning, it's just paying attention really to your body and your system and knowing when basically you need to ask for that break versus completely pulling out without explanation and causing your partner to wonder or to feel rejected. Right.
Because like stonewalling is almost like a form of punishment to your partner. Like it's a lot of us will call it the silent treatment, but okay. So what else you got?
What else do I got?
I was gonna actually ask like scenarios on the other three types, but then I don't know if we have enough time.
I don't know if we do have enough time, but we can keep building on this topic. I think that it's intensely exciting, and it's just exciting to know more about what's going on in your body and what you're feeling in those moments, so that you can understand this isn't as something that has no like unknown ways to navigate. There's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of tools in the toolbox. And I think when we don't understand what's happening with our body and our emotions, we can just feel crazy. There's so many people who are just like having panic attacks, and they are like, oh, why can't I do what normal people are doing? And I'm having this response in these different situations and feeling triggered. And that shame that you might be adding on and the judgment of yourself, it does no good to your healing.
Yeah.
It does no good. So it's important that we understand, there's these like actual biological things going on, and our amygdala, that part of our brain that sets off fight, flight, freeze, is also right by our hippocampus, which is our memory storage bank.
Yeah.
And so when we encounter a memory or a scenario that has enough reminders of a traumatic event, whether that's within a relationship or like in my neighborhood, there was a veteran and it would say, please no fireworks, because that would remind them of a traumatic event that they had in a memory. And it's so much quicker to activate that amygdala reaction. So it's these mindfulness exercises, deep breathing and meditation, and creating these habits around your life and having social connection. That's another one. I think that's a huge piece of the pie that people forget because we live in a very independent culture. So there's a lot of different tools in the toolbox, and I encourage all of you to sprinkle them in. I have a guided relaxation that is now free and available on my website, coachkaylani.com, and some journal prompts, and they are designed to help people prepare for a psychedelic therapeutic session with someone. But the questions I hand out to clients no matter what, because I think it's really good to get clarity on what's out of balance in my life. What would I want my life to look like if I didn't live in fear? You did those questions as well. I think it's just good to kind of have that moment looking at yourself and analyzing what direction do you want to go in life? Let's have some intention towards it. So there's some tools that are free and available to you at coachkaylani.com, and I'm really excited to keep sharing more with all of you. Part of why I also think it's really amazing to do the psychedelic work that I've talked about too is that there is this opportunity for more neuroplasticity, or the ability for your brain to have stronger channels and have really, when it comes to healing, like expedite healing in some ways, or at least provide the opportunity to see it from a different perspective, where that shame can drop away and you can really create a deeper sense of safety and security if you are doing it right and well and therapeutically with the right support. So I'm just always curious about all of the ways that we can continue exploring how to heal our mental health from a very holistic and integrative perspective.
Yeah, me too.
So there's my spiel for today, guys.
It was wonderful. It was a good conversation.
I know we're roasting because we have to turn the AC off when we record so that it doesn't start up in the background. So we're going to cool off. And then we're going to film again. And then we're going to film some reactions. Okay. But be sure to check out our YouTube. It would mean the world to us, and we're just having so much fun. I would love more input and ideas, too, on other topics for the podcast that anyone would love to hear. Yeah, just give us all your ideas. Give them all. And, that's all I got. All right. Yeah, all right. It was good stuff. We will see you in the next one, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye, delightful humans.